Welcome back, everybody. I'm Julie Banderas, and you're watching Fox Highlights. And now, switching gears a bit to a story about Kids of Courage. It's an innovative, all-volunteer organization you must learn about. It's dedicated to support sick children and their families day and night, 365 days a year. And joining me now is Dr. Stuart Ditchek. He's the co-founder and medical director of this organization. And maybe you can tell us more as to how we can get involved. But first, just start off by saying, you know, what it is that parents need to do to get their children into this organization, for those who are watching.
Well, we're actually the largest medically supervised travel and year-round program in the world for sick and disabled children and young adults. We are all volunteers. We believe in philanthropy and volunteerism. There is no cost to any of the families who send their kids with us on the trips. We leave the family at home and give them a chance to rest up. They can go to our website, kidsoc.org, and they enroll their children. And then we have a medical intake individual who decides whether they're medically appropriate to come on the trip.
Okay, because I was going to say, I mean, I would imagine that not every sick child is going to be allowed to come onto this trip. So I suppose, what are you looking for when you determine who's...
It's the reverse of what you might think. The sicker they are, the more likely they are to be accepted into the program. We don't accept children who are in remission for a long period of time, or children who have curable diseases who are resolved. We accept children who are either chronically ill or children who have end-stage disease. So if they are sicker, if they have more medical need, they're more likely to be accepted into the program.
Okay, now when we talk end-stage disease, we're talking obviously a lot about cancer.
Cancer, neuromuscular disorders, different types of genetic disorders very often. But when we're with the kids, we focus on the positives. We don't talk about the negative outcomes.
Now, are these children continuing medical treatment while on these trips?
They are.
Are there experimental drugs that are being used on these trips, or how does that work?
Well, usually not experimental on the trip, but we support whatever treatments they're getting throughout the year. Very often we're doing infusions. We have done peritoneal dialysis on the trips. We've done different types of ventilator and oxygen therapy. We have 14 children who are with us on the West Coast a few weeks ago who were traveling on ventilators, full ventilator support. So we travel with nurses, physicians, paramedics, and our volunteer staff that's specially trained to take care of the kids.
And when you say you travel, where are you guys going?
Everywhere. We ski in the winter. We go up to Vermont in the winter where we ski. In the summer, we do either California or Florida.
Wow.
We're planning trips to other places throughout the United States over the next year or two. And in the next 2 years, we're trying to plan a trip overseas as well.
And the parents stay home?
Parents stay home. We leave the parents at home.
You know, it's a gift to the parents, but it must be so difficult for the parents to let their kids go.
It's a leap of faith.
But it's a trip that a lot of these parents could never afford, to give this gift to their kids that have spent most of their lives in hospitals, not in the slopes in Vermont or on these these lavish vacations that most children dream about.
For sure. And not only couldn't the parent afford it, but with the restrictions on travel today, just to take one bottle of medicine on an airplane requires all kinds of pre-approvals and planning. We charter an entire 757 as part of our trip, and we equip that cabin with everything that you would find in an emergency room in the United States.
Are you nervous at all about traveling with so many sick children?
Yeah, I'm very nervous. And I always tell my staff, when you stop being nervous, it's time to stop doing it.
I mean, how many kids at once are you talking about on one trip?
It's almost 150 kids for the large trip. For the ski trip, it's about 80 kids this year, 80 to 85 children with an adaptive ski program. So we take large numbers. The total group is actually over 400 with the support staff and with our medical logistics team and our medical team. So
and these trips are free. So, I mean, you got to get funding for these trips. I mean, how do you get money to fund such large-scale trips?
We beg, borrow, and steal all year long. We rely on philanthropy. We rely on corporations and individual donors. Most of our donations come from individual donors. We have unique relationships with corporations like United Airlines, which provides us much decreased cost travel for the kids. So we have very good relationships, but most of our donations come from individuals sitting at home watching shows like this.
Tell me about the impacts that you've seen that these trips have had on these children.
Well, the best impact that we've noticed is that the kids get sick less on the trips than they do at home. And that's been something that we've been following for 4 years now. In our history, since this program's been around, which is 4.5 years, we've only had 1 hospitalization and 2 emergency room visits throughout the 4.5 years. And the reason for it is that the kids are happier on the trips. We believe that their immune systems work better, and they feel better, and they just feel better when they're on the trip.
Stress is a huge factor to fighting disease. That's a fact. And when you are living day in and day out with parents that are obviously stressed out, that they try to be there and they try to show their love and support, but you know that your parents are hurting and you're going in and out of hospitals. I mean, it really says a lot about how stress is such a key factor to healing from even end-stage diseases.
Absolutely, and we see the stress factor impacting the families. I think that the families are more impacted by the stress. The parents tend to get sick more, unfortunately, and there's a terrible strain on the family dynamics when you have a sick child. So when we travel with the kids, and at this point we're traveling almost 3 to 4 weeks a year with these children throughout the year. That's 3 to 4 weeks a year. Parents have a chance to get to know each other again and to get to be with their other children, and it gives them a chance to rebuild their lives.
And I would imagine the parents are that much better off when their kids come back. It's almost like a reboot, a restart, if you will, because you don't really have time to breathe when you're caring for a sick child. And I mean, I can't imagine what that's like for any parent, and my heart breaks for any parent that would ever have to see that day in and day out. Where can people go to learn more information?
Well, they can go to the website, kidsoc.org, or they can go to our Facebook page, Kids of Courage, on Facebook, and they can either donate there, or they can apply, to become volunteers. And we welcome all good folks who want to get involved, and we're working with a large number of groups right now to expand our programs into many different communities and many different places.
When you say volunteers, are you talking about people that actually join you on the trips? How many staff members do you have? I mean, if you have 80 kids going skiing, how many staff members is that?
Well, every child has 1 to 2 counselors, depending on their medical need. The kids who are on ventilators may have up to 3 counselors because they have to be suctioned 24/7. So
and do you have doctors on the trip as well?
We have physicians on every trip. We have nurses on every trip. We have paramedics on every trip, and we have a medical logistics team on every trip. So every trip entails, for a group of 150 kids, is a total group of 400 people that we're traveling with.
Oh my gosh. And you have to pay, or are all these doctors doing it?
No, they all volunteer.
They're all doing it out of...
They're all volunteers.
That's
and they
amazing.
fight to be on the trip. We have wait lists for people to get on the trip.
That's amazing. I love that. Thank you so much for coming in and talking to us. And I want more people to know about this. I had never heard of it before. Go to kidsoc.org. You can learn how you can either donate, or if you want to travel and be a part of this amazing experience and really change the life of more than one child at a time. Or send your child if you're a parent out there that is desperately seeking some relief. I couldn't imagine a better way to do it. Thank you so much for talking to us, Dr. Stuart Ditchek. We appreciate you coming on.
Thank you.
One last live chat before I let you go. Yitzi Engel writes to Dr. Ditchek, who was just talking to me live about Kids of Courage, saying, Dr. D, you rock. What you do with these kids is amazing, and I would agree. And now